Melania, lovely 8'4" goddess of rock here, is a great example of a brick wall. Melania, it doesn't matter if you are John Dark Souls II and a self-proclaimed Souls veteran, or if this was your first experience like mine, she's going to beat your ass the first time you see her jump up into the air and prepare to do waterfowl dance. I don't care what your experience with these games are, it's going to kill you, and everyone is brought down to a baseline, a common experience, and asked, how do you respond to what feels like an impossible obstacle? And this is where, to me, Elden Ring in particular shines, especially in its DLC. There is so much just visual symmetry in factions and powers and styles of combat that you can invest into and you can come across in battle. Elden Ring, more than any other Souls game, has a giant emphasis on player expression, how you want to play, how you want to tackle this problem, instead of just, expecting you to get better at the game itself, like Sekiro does more. There are ways you can get stronger in that game, but for the most part, your toolkit is going to stay somewhat consistent from boss to boss. If you're stuck, the main way to improve that situation is to get better at that specific boss, is to learn its moves. Now, those overpowered weapons that other people use would make the game too easy for lay epic Souls Chad master such as yourself, Playing like a purist to make the game harder for yourself is fine, it's fun, I support it. If you just want a straight sword shoved up your ass and you want to approach it like Dark Souls, I get it, I've done a level 1 run in this game and I think it's really, really fun. What I liked about that level 1 run wasn't just how limited I was and how many bragging rights I can get from beating the game at a lower level. It's from how many options I still found at that extremely limited level. Even though, theoretically, I'm using a tiny fraction of what the game has to offer, and none of it very well, as all of my stats were stuck in a baseline of 10, the amount of things that you can effectively use within that limited range really is a testament to just how much this game has to offer. I can only speak to my own experience, and that's what I've got to show you today, because yes, there is moments of frustration or repetition or whatever nitpicks or criticisms you may have of this game, but to me it will always just be outweighed by the just coolness of the stuff that I find when I play these games. And today I want to show you one of those things, this absolute gem of a weapon I've found, and just kind of give my thoughts on the DLC and the tempo of this game and just the creativity and imagination that it sparks when I'm playing it. So I found this shiny new toy, and God help me, I was ready to risk it all. So despite not having enough dex or vigor to have any rational reason to use this, despite being a pretty high level build, I just decided, screw it, we're gonna go all in on this cosmic katana because it looks incredible and it's very fun to use. So I've split this video up into 6 chapters, each centered around the main DLC boss, which I fought with this similarly to how Melania's waterfowl works. There are several health thresholds in which she is most likely to initiate a scripted attack, like the ball sack of doom, or that big overhead sword swipe followed by the spin. The phase transition obviously is a big one. And it really helps in being able to kind of avoid how relentless this boss is, because she is not your average intelligence user. She's very aggressive, she's very fast, and specific to Rilana, she will kind of continue to extend her combos and keep attacking you over and over if you stay right in her face. So your positioning is very important here, but The other thing is that those attacks will continue even if she's missing you, but you're right next to her. She may still try to hit you, which is pretty fun in this fight, because you get these giant openings because of how much this boss will continue to attack, that making the miss is rewarded. But obviously failing to do so means you're going to eat just combo to the face. The hit and don't get hit style of fighting you see in real life sports like boxing wasn't just popularized by Ali or Anderson Silva, it's also championed here by Miyazaki. It is almost expected of the player that they are going to learn this. You cannot afford to just stand there against some of these killers and just take an entire combo to the face. You need to be sending them to Belize, if you know what I'm saying, and you need to respect the attacks that are going to come at you, because you have the ability to do the same thing to them. You just need to not be overconfident. I mean, honestly, like a can of hairspray and a lighter is enough for Melania, if you are aggressive, if you time yourself, and if you know your limitations. And this next boss really exemplifies that. What an opener! I mean, it is probably a good time to mention that I edited these fights like somewhat out of order, and this is like the probable first fight most players will meet, but the Divine Beast Dancing Lion just serves this role so well. He is an energetic and rhythmic fight, and I honestly missed out on experiencing half of what this boss had to offer my first time around. I assume many other players kind of made the same mistake or out-leveled him, but man, after coming back to this boss a lot, I really have developed a much deeper appreciation for it. I had so many incredible clips just flying across the arena, and this really is just such a beautiful and elegant moveset to kind of counter what my character is doing. I love the atmosphere, I love the visuals, I love the OST that he's dancing and soaring around, and it's really just powerful. I mean, there's this precision to it that's almost like beckoning you to dance alongside him, and I honestly I wanted to throw a party, with the two dead dudes dancing in the lion costume. I mean, we all were just throwing all caution to the wind, and just fucking nobody cares about their own safety, that's all gone, we're just gonna start dancing. Man, the intensity and cinematic spectacle of that dance is it's present in the base game, very present in fact, and it can't be overlooked. Malekith, Radagon, there's so many wild boss fights in the base game, and I think a lot of them were walking so that bosses like the Lion could run, because they just got so creative. This is one of the coolest ideas for a fight they've ever had. And, of course, the lions aren't the only tortured horn-sent souls you're going to find throughout this DLC. In fact, they're quite commonplace, and no better example of that than Midra, the Lord of Frenzied Flame. Frenzy or madness is something you encounter quite a bit in the base game. There's actually an entire ending based around it where you, the player, can become the Lord of Frenzied Flame and essentially burn all bridges with everyone and everything you ever knew. And the frenzy is really interesting in this game. It kind of has ties to inherent unjust suffering, so there's almost a sympathetic angle within those afflicted by it. The frenzy doesn't just manifest itself in anyone, it's people who have witnessed or endured extreme suffering that breeds a kind of hopelessness or perception about human cruelty that just gives no other option. The Frenzy Flame is a release from that. It is sort of the force in the world that counteracts America's order and all of this, as what about all the people who don't fall inside of this perfect, golden, gracious, whatever the fuck, right? They're suffering, they're dying, there's all this pain, and that order isn't true. That order's cruel, it's not what it professes to be. And so the Frenzy Flame is almost this voice of the downtrodden, but in reality, it's the force of an outer god. It's an extremely destructive and dangerous force that almost can infect the mind of people who come in contact with it, and that's what happened with Midra here. He was a Horn-Sense scholar or sage, and interestingly enough, we don't know if this is because of the frenzy's effects, as the Horn-Sense relationship to divinity is specifically stated as very spiritual. That's actually why when you explore the terrifying Abyssal Woods to come and find this fight, you can't summon your horse, Torrent, because, well, he's a spirit, and Frenzy Flame can destroy spirits. So Midra is one of the few Horn-Sent that you will see with no horns visible, which is interesting, but he's still a member of them, of their race or of their culture, and the Dancing Lion is meant to sort of illustrate a lot of the beauty in the spirituality of Horn-Sent culture, but Midra and Marika's interactions with them do not take that same route. Midra, of course, was a sage and academic, if you will, who came into contact with the Frenzied Flame by no fault of his own, and was, well, suffered a pretty extreme fate at the hands of the Horn-Sent. As mentioned before, the Horn-Sent are extremely spiritual in nature, and maybe this explains to some extent the Horn-Sent's reactionary response. We already know they're pretty pagan from Marika's issues with them and some of their past misdeeds, but there's a particular cruelty in the way that they responded to Midra. I mean, the greatsword you see stabbed into his head, almost in the inverse of how Frenzy would express himself, just remaining there for years, cursed by the last words of his wife to just endure for as long as he could, and this ripening of that particular misery and injustice creates the volatile and explosive fight we have with the Lord of Frenzied Flame here. But fortunately, this is not the only example of volatile or explosive. The base game has a lot of high fantasy beauty, but sometimes this DLC is just fucking metal. Bale the Dread. I mean, what do you even say about a boss like this? He's just the embodiment of so much of what I love about this game. The unique kind of like elemental and visual presentation of this kind of character being just so perfectly synergized with everything else going on, and then not to mention having one of, if not the most badass, insane NPC quest lines to go along with it. I mean, like, this guy, you meet him, he has no legs, he's dragging himself with his arms up a fucking mountainside, right? Okay, like you can't put into words the amount of just vitriol and genuine hater behavior that Egon just embodies right here. I mean, like, he is obviously very inspired by Captain Ahab to some extent. Bale is his white whale. Funny. I know, right? But like that doesn't even do it justice. Like I remember the first time I fought Bale, there was this one point where he did this move, it's like a tail swipe, he kind of jumps away from you and then flips back, and it's a really good opportunity to hit him in the head, because when he's done spinning, his head kind of lands right in front of you and you have a couple seconds to hit him. But I remember kind of not taking advantage of that the first time I saw it, because I was looking at this fucker and I'm like, oh, this piece of shit is having fun. Like, he's enjoying this. This is an evil being right here, you know what I mean? And like, look at the fucking spectacle of what is on screen. Bale is a living fucking volcano, okay? He basically sucker punched the most powerful dragon of all time. He walked up to him and ate 3 of his heads, his 5 heads, so he just like challenges the Elden Lord version of a dragon. Fucking, you can still see, sorry, I need to calm down. You can still see those heads protruding from his fucking back. And Bale didn't come out of this unscathed. It was kind of a stalemate where they both just severely maimed each other because they're these insanely powerful enemies. But you notice how Bale, like, has nubs for wings? They're fucking shredded. He is hitting you with the protruding bone of his wing. He barely has any functioning limbs. And this thing is one of the most just hateful, inflamed, powerful creatures I have ever seen, both visually and like ability and gameplay wise. Like, this is a monster, and this dude has no qualms about that. It is fucking on sight for Egon. He gets into that arena and starts fucking cursing this dude out. Like, it's a dragon. It doesn't speak English, but it knows what fucking angry yelling and shouting means, okay? It knows enough, and that's enough for Egon. He's fine with that. You literally meet this dude fucking, like, this close to death, crawling up a mountain with no legs, and he's literally begging you. He's begging you. He has one thing on his mind. It's not, yo, I'm fucking, like, crippled and, like, trying to fucking climb up a mountain with my hands. You got, like, a drink of water? No. It's, can I please fight this, like, dragon god? Yo, this dude who is literally just, like, the pinnacle of, like, fury and hellfire itself. This dude who's nicknamed the Dread. Yeah, I'm not afraid of that dude. I actually want a run back with that dude right now. What's that? He incinerated my limbs? Don't give a fuck. You know what? He can have this finger too. I don't give a shit. Just please bring me with you. I want to fight this dude again. Please give me the fucking chance, just so I can say, curse you, Bale! I got. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do. As I reached the pinnacle, highest peak in the land of shadow, I knew I'd become powerful in my journey. So far I'd been able to hang with every contender and challenger that had come my way, but I still wanted to know how I did against the champ. This beautiful sword had passed every test I gave it, but as I sat and surveyed the landscape above the clouds, I knew I lacked the insight needed to truly ascend, and so I leveled up my intelligence to 69. Upon attaining this godly benchmark of power, I had no choice. There just wasn't any more avoiding him. Just like any other tarnished with foolish ambitions, I wanted to know if old Master Hugh really had created a god-slayer weapon. So it was time to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the mightiest demigod of the Shattering. No more time for nerd talk about lore. The record holder for the most on-stream therapy sessions. The only man ever to beat Mulaney's ass so bad she had to reattach all her limbs afterwards. And the conqueror of the stars. I give you Promised Consort Radon! hey, you're still here. The video's over, you know. You can go. I guess this is as good a time as any to introduce myself. I'm Spence, wanted to put a face to a name, and say thank you if you've made it this far into what is a very long video. It took me a very long time to edit, and it's gone through a lot of changes, but I'm very happy with the final product. Very passionate about making this stuff and these games, and I hope that reaches people who share that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and look out for more stuff coming soon in the future. Peace.